I'm Kat.
And I'm Gabe.
And we're
the Ghouls next door. Yeah.
Welcome.
Yes. And we are in our representation series. So,
yeah. Saying words about representation. If you missed our last one, it was great. It was about sex workers and horror films.
Yeah. So all throughout this series, we are inviting people, because we are not the authority on these subjects. And we want people to be able to tell us what's going on as well. We want representation on the podcast, just like we want representation in horror films. Yeah. And yeah. And so today we are talking, so previously we have talked about Black representation in horror, briefly, just about like some of the stereotypes and some of those things. But today we're going to get a little more specific, just like before we had talked about women in horror, and then we got more specific about a certain like job that is usually portrayed by women in film. Mm-hmm. So we are going to talk about Black women in horror, and today we are joined by Ariel Taylor. Hi.
Hey.
Bow, 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 bow.
It should be. Oh, yeah.
There you go. Hi. Thank you for coming on our podcast, first and foremost.
You're welcome.
Thanks for living in our house with us.
Also,
you're welcome.
Yeah, Ariel, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, our listeners?
Yeah. I am a Black woman.
Woo! We did it. We did it right then. Check one for the Ghouls.
It makes sense to say that since we are a podcast and you cannot visually see us.
Yes.
I'm a queer Black woman. I'm a media maker.
Yes.
I work at PhillyCAM.
Yeah.
I teach kids how to make television shows, and I don't know what else I do. I like to make like experimental media type things, and I like to watch a lot of documentaries, and I like to think critically about media. So I'm glad to be on the show.
Yeah.
You guys do that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know that one of your favorite things to do is talk about like media literacy and like actually like understanding what it is that we're ingesting, like with your students, and just like the importance of like not just being, passive about the media that's around us, right? So like, what are some of the things that you instruct people to be like, so they're not a passive viewer?
Yeah, I think the main thing is to question everything. So every single thing that you're watching and all the things that are happening while you're watching it is constantly just thinking about like, from the music to why they decided to cast a particular person, why they chose to release it at a particular time, thinking about who is helping to produce it. Why are those why are those producers potentially working on this film? Like, what's their aim? Or who are they connected to? Just everything inside of the frame, and even, the behind the scene things of just trying to really be thoughtful and intentional about asking why.
Yeah. And it's not so much just about representation of what we're seeing on screen. It's also how people are being represented. What do they look like on screen? And then it's also like who wrote that character? Who decided that character? Like who's telling that character what to do?
Right.
And who's like hitting record and who's editing that and producing it.
It all plays a part for sure. Yeah.
Awesome. So you are not a fan of horror generally.
No, I think it could be potentially because I have never really seen a lot of POC people in horror, or those movies aren't the ones that we die.
Yeah.
Very soon in. I think, a big thing about media and why I love it so much is that like you make a connection, right? You easily make a connection to someone, and suddenly it's like, yeah, I watch the show every week because I see someone that looks like me, or, that person like came from a single parent household and I'm from a single parent household. Even if you can't, relate in some type of way, there's usually something there that connects you. And so with horror, it's like life is already scary.
Yeah.
For me most days. Again, I just have never felt a strong connection to any horror characters. I usually like, well, for me, I mean, I know you guys are like the experts, but when I think about it, I think of like just white, scary men.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
Yeah, it's not very, it's not a positive experience to live in horror and then to use it as like an outlet. It's like, this isn't funny.
No,
this
it's
is
not a
No,
release.
this is like real. I'm upset and stressed.
I'm already scared of them most days, every day. So,
Exactly.
Understandably so.
Yeah, and we are in this episode going to talk about some of the stereotypes that we see, some of the tropes. If, there is a future for horror where that doesn't exist, or like those tropes are circumvented in some way or redefined. And with, directors like Jordan Peele, we can now see more like Black protagonist, right? So he's like kind of like, unfortunately, it took him making it cool to feature Black voices on productions. But it's also like, we can be a little thankful for it because it hopefully is opening some doors for future productions to be such. But there are still some problems. So we're going to dive into those. And we're also going to cover the film Ma because it's really relevant. It's really important to talk about because it's directly related to some of the things we're going to talk about. So stay tuned.
Facts. Yeah, facts. We tell you facts. All the facts. Here facts. Still facts. About that spooky stuff. Yeah, spooky stuff.
So why don't we talk about some of the horror tropes or just tropes in film? So are there any that like immediately come to mind when you think of like, what is a usual role that a Black woman will play?
Well, I think it changes like depending on like the audience, because like for some reason just like Black cinema kind of just like sticks into my head right now. We're talking about this, so I feel like if we're thinking about like a movie geared to a Black audience, it's like, a lot of times I feel like it's like this kind of like Queen Latifah type thing where she's a tough Black woman, but she knows that she needs a Black man to like soften her up and like show her that she really deserves the world when like she was already kind of like doing her thing by herself. But obviously if you get a man, then it'll make everything better and people
Stella's
won't think you're
gotta get a
angry.
groove.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
What are some other tropes you were saying?
Yeah.
There's so many.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the independent. I feel like the just like the over sexualized. Beauty figure, but also, has like, again, I feel like I keep going for this like anger thing too of like, she's like really beautiful, but she has like an attitude or in some type of way.
Yeah.
They're kind
of like sassy, right?
Yeah,
it's
just like sassy, over sexualized, angry, but independent. Working, potentially like working multiple jobs and just trying to do it all by themselves. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would say so. Like just in some of the tropes that we see bleed through from like just the normal genres into horror, we can see things like the sassy Black best friend.
Yes, that too.
whose sole purpose is to like take care of the white protagonist. Like,
Always
are you
asking if they're okay.
Yeah. Are you okay? Are you good?
Or is also like the the voice, like the one that is like championing for them, and like when their world just like completely falls apart, that's the person that they like go to is like coddle them and tell them that like life is gonna be better.
Yeah, or to tell them like it is like, oh no, girlfriend.
Oh,
like
yes,
that
that too.
generic phrasing of like, don't do that. Like what you, and then it's of course like if they're in jeopardy, it's because they didn't listen to the voice of reason, which happens to be the black character as well.
Yeah. And I also feel like it makes the, like, in a lot of the storylines where they have like a black best friend, it makes them seem a little bit more cool and approachable or like, you know, like hip in some kind of way where it's like, oh, they're down to earth. They have a black best friend who usually has like a curly fro.
Yeah.
Typically.
Yeah. It's like we can like this protagonist because they're not like
they're
the
white.
racist white people, right? They're different because they're accepting of like, and that's not even something to be accepting of. Like, it's not like I'm friends with a nerdy girl who, which would be like suicide for your popularity, right? But it's like literally the statement is that being friends with this black woman means that you're edgy.
Yeah.
It's a problem. Yeah, like even thinking, so I feel like it's going to come up quite a bit, but the Shudder documentary Horror Noir, we have Rachel True, who's in there, and she played in The Craft. And so she's like talks about a lot of her playing that, like the sassy black friend or just the black friend who's there just to take care of her.
Right.
And even talked about like how her character in The Craft was so different from the other ones because everyone's problem was kind of like an internal battle, right? Whereas hers was more of just literally just racism.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think, The Craft, that's another one where I always kind of felt some type of way about her role because I think I ask this question to people all the time too, to like white folks. And it's just like what is your connection to your hair? Because I think like also Rachel True is multiracial. And so I think there's so many different levels there of like, she's white to some degree, right? Yeah. But then she also is like obviously the only person of color in her little like clique. And I don't remember seeing that many black people in The Craft.
I don't think so.
I think she's like maybe the only one.
Yeah, which is why they're so racist.
Did they even show her parents?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about her. It was literally just that this white girl calls her a made up slur.
Yeah.
And is like making fun of her.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry, what was the question? Now I'm just like trying to replay
it. Okay. No, it's also just start, having a dialogue about like the existence of these characters, right? And how throughout like the history and what that documentary is very helpful with is to show kind of like the growth and change from some of the classic stereotypes of the woman. But even we see some of them in Jordan Peele's Get Out as well. So like if you think about like The Maid, right? Having like a maiden woman who is black, right? We have that in Get Out where the maid is black.
Right.
But it's interesting because I guess it's a spoiler for anyone who hasn't watched Get Out. If you haven't watched Get Out, what are you doing?
It's been a while now. Come on.
Also go see it. So
definitely go see it.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
Go see it. Yeah. But no,
pause this entire episode because there's going to be a lot of spoilers from that film. But that she's a grandmother, right? So that's also like a weird, like we're doing that. But even her role as the black maid, right? She is still there as like a warning to him. Like she's like, no. She does that whole thing, right? And it's just like we see almost the same exact like scenario, except it's no longer your best friend who's doing it, but it's this woman who's supposed to like be a mother figure, but like is still indebted to this family.
Yeah, I think the thing too is like I never can really understand that the way that the media portrays black women because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's like the same thing like actually like really happens in real life where it's like you see black women as like a caretaker and like, just like so connected to like the world and feelings and just being like really empathetic. And I feel like a lot of times people have like, I would hope that like a lot of people have like a strong black woman like in their corner, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I feel like there's also just like this like immense amount of hatred that is like directed to someone. And it's just these two really big things that are just clashing, right? Where it's like you hate this person, but you like love and like care about this person at the same time, which is like, as a Black woman, it makes you feel like really kind of like frozen. And I feel like I get that a lot. I feel like I get that a lot, like with this, like with Get Out, because it's like you feel conflicted, you know, because she's like creepy and crazy, but at the same time, or scary, but at the same time, it's like you feel really bad for her, and it's like she's trapped, right? And I feel like that is also like a thing that plays out for Black women, of like just like kind of being trapped in this way of like, you know, I want to be this one thing, I am this one thing, but like I guess everyone is trapped, but I feel like it's a whole other level to it for Black women. So yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's like one of the big problems is that the sole existence of them, like their entire motive, is wrapped around like taking care of this like white protagonist, no, in whatever role it is, right? Or affecting this protagonist. Like they don't have their own goals in like life. Like they don't have their own passions. They're literally just here to
serve.
To serve. And still
they don't give them character development that they need to and is necessary to create more than that.
To be, you know, their own character, even like for us to feel like, oh, I understand why they're taking these actions. It seems like it's all for themselves, right? And none of that happens. But so we have like, all right, so we have like the Black best friend, we have like the mammy figure, or the woman who's like taking care of them in that maternal way. And then, like you said, there's the over sexualized version, right? So there's this idea of like the Jezebel, right? So and this also happens with Asian women as well, is that they're exoticized, I guess. Is that a word?
Yeah, I think so,
They're made exotic, right? It's like this other being, and it's like, and that stems directly to like racism and slavery.
And Latinx. Yeah,
absolutely. It's just like, oh, look at this. They're exotic and different and
fetishizing.
Yes, exactly. And so it becomes like their sexuality is a weapon directly, right? It's a threat to the chaste male who's like just trying to do good. And like, how is he supposed to survive? Like, how is he supposed to fight against this woman? Like, this is a Black woman. She's powerful. Of course, she's going to get what she wants kind of narrative. And it's like, you can't just like, you're either desexualized completely. Like you are not at all in any way ever like acknowledge that you would probably have sex, right? Because you're the mammy, you're just a mom. No one, you don't have sex. Or you're the best friend. No one cares. You're not having sex. Or if you are having sex, it's like, it's stigmatized. It's like it's a negative force, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think it's also this thing of like it being forbidden, right? And I think that that's also a thing that like kind of drives this like fetishizing and eroticism that's like directed towards like POC women in films too, where it's like you only get to see like one side of her, you know, and she's like, you know, unattainable, or there's this like mystery and intrigue behind it, which is gross.
Yeah, absolutely gross. Like they just can't have their own like motives. And but that's also a thing that just plays out with women in film, right? It's like, God forbid a woman has a sex drive and wants like to have pleasure. And I would say one of the examples of like the Jezebel is Abby, which is a horror film from 1974 where there's a woman who's possessed by an African sex spirit. Right? So she's like this like the beginning, she just seems like this like cute, like beautiful woman who's like playful, but obviously in tune with her sexuality, and is like she's just a woman. She's just a person, and then she gets possessed, and then she becomes like almost like the Exorcist type level of like insane, but in regards to like sex, and it's just like, oh, she's coming from my penis. I don't even know. So whatever it is. And then there's another one that I just wanted to touch on before we kind of go into some of the problems with just like representation in film, is the magical Negro trope, which is where we have a Black character who, like you said, is there to serve like wisdom, right? They have like this weird like tap into the supernatural, or like they just know things that other people wouldn't know. An example is Scatman from The Shining. And they talked about it in Horror Noir that his character dies in the Shining film, but in the book, he did not die. And it doesn't make any sense that he does, really.
Yeah, they just did it to show, well, as they said in Horror Noir, is like they did it to show that the guy was truly dangerous because then the black character died.
Right.
And that's the only way, apparently,
Just
to show that
Kill him.
someone is dangerous.
Yeah, if they killed the black guy, then we're all like, now it's dangerous, right? But even I think it directly related to like a black woman serving the magical Negro trope is the woman, I can't remember her name right now, in Patricia Belcher from Jeepers Creepers. So she in Jeepers Creepers is like the psychic, and she calls Justin Long and his sister and is like, he's coming for you, boy. Like it's honestly the worst.
Yeah,
But
I haven't seen
like,
it in a while, but I remember,
like, I can see it. It's coming for you.
Yeah.
And that's literally her whole thing, is just to be the phone call to them to tell them that he's coming. And then she dies. Like, or she didn't die, I don't think. Till maybe the end. But that was literally, she was just there.
I mean, I think it's a continuation to, like, again, you know, obviously, like, art represents life all the time, and so it's this thing of being disposable, right? Like, black folks, especially black women, are disposable in life and in our world, and I think it's a clear representation of that. It's like, you served your purpose, we've used you for this, and now there's no need, you know.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting thing to think about, like, how we dispose of the women characters versus the men characters, like Kat was saying before, is like, if we have this, like, the big aggressive man who happens to be black, right? If he gets taken down by the villain, then we know that villain is bad. But when we take down, like, the black woman, it's kind of just like this, like it brings us all down to a level of like, oh, we lost this person and we should have cared about this person. And like that, it's more of an emotional thing of just, but even still, like, not.
Yeah.
It's just like,
because they don't get, because it's who's making the films. They're not giving us enough character development to care deeply about anyone other than the main white protagonist.
Yeah.
So,
and why should you? I mean, that's the whole point, right? Is that they want to continue to perpetuate this, like, white protagonist is white is right? Like, you know, like, you should be on this person's side or on this person's team, and they have feelings.
Yeah.
Their feelings matter.
God forbid they had feelings and then I didn't care. But there's a lot of issues throughout the film industry. So it's not even just about, like, the stereotypes that we're seeing and we're trying to do. But there's also, like, common themes, or when we are getting representation, it's just, like, not quite hitting the mark.
well, yeah, because it's usually, I mean, I would argue centered around, like, this white guilt, but from the past. Like, it's never from a current lens. It's always like, what's it called? Basically, white audiences being like, black stories are only relevant unless there's historical meaning they're from the past. So you see this with the really Oscar-winning films about slavery, Jim Crow, and civil rights movement that are all focusing on, like, the issues that we're saying don't exist anymore, so that we don't have to talk about it in, like, real life here. Even though there's lots of things wrong with the world that are currently happening, and then people are just trying to act like they don't exist when they definitely do and need to be dealt with actively. But
it's that whole idea, I think they bring up in Horror Noir, where they're like, well, President Obama existed, so racism must be gone.
Right. Yeah.
it's like,
we don't have to try anymore.
No. They just now want to tell everybody.
I think too, it's like still thinking about how racism is still, like, permeating in those, like, movie houses and in those, like, production companies, where it's like, if there's still white men leading the charge of a black story or leading the charge of, like, a historically, like, racist, sexist, you know, film house, like, why should we be led to believe that the stories that they're coming out of the, you know, are going to be, like, really true and authentic and, like, really want to, like, shine a light or help people? Like, it just doesn't connect, you know, it just doesn't make sense.
And you see that kind of in horror noir where they're saying, like, there's, like, these white people telling black stories, and you can immediately see, as the film's happening, like, oh, a white person must have wrote this because that's not what would have happened. Or, like, for example, Candyman. Like, there's definitely the scenes where, why would he attack the people, the black community, when the people who did the awful things to him were the neighborhood next door of the rich white people. And clearly a white person produced this because otherwise that wouldn't have been the audience.
Yeah, and wrote it and were the crew.
Yeah. And it makes you, I mean, I think like Candyman is a great example of like, I remember watching that as a kid in the living room with all my, like with my family and my cousins and like being like really scared. But like, I almost like have a hard time like even under like remembering that Candyman was like black, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel any kind of like connection to him in that kind of way. And I think that that's so different than like, you know, like watching Jordan Peele's films and like instantly being like, okay, like even some of the joke, you know, like the jokes and just like the whole situation is like you really feel like, okay, this movie is like for us.
Yeah.
This is like this is my jam.
It's from that lens. And
it's just like
voice.
So Candyman is just like, whoa, I just completely forgot about Candyman. I don't even I guess he's black. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, and it's crazy because like that's like the whole tipping off point for Candyman itself is that he was in an interracial relationship.
Yeah.
And that's great because like no one thinks about that. I don't think about that. I think about bees.
Yeah, that's what I think about.
Bees. And then
the scary like words and stuff.
Yeah, like it's just literally just a culmination of every urban legend I've ever known, which is scary. And then it's like on the backdrop, it's like, oh, also, did you think about like racism? And I'm like, I haven't in a minute, but thanks.
Yeah. And why too? I feel like that makes it easier for white audiences too, is they always throw in the interracial, you know, dating. It's like it makes it a little bit softer for them to be able to kind of like take things in. So
and if you think about it, like of a white director trying to like ease the white guilt by making a film about these issues and making one good white person or one white person save the day. So you have, or like the savior white person, which is something that just is so upsetting of like the nonprofit world and like AmeriCorps. Like from my own experience, like they made us go to a workshop that was like, hey, when you go somewhere and you're offering help in quotes, you should ask what is needed and not assume you know what the right thing to do is. So you see like the white savior in The Blind Side. Or
I hate The Blind Side.
I never even watched it because I saw the commercial and I was like,
gross.
No. That looks gross and I don't want to experience it because it's just like, who are you to think you're going to help this guy? Why is this your job for one? Two,
nothing.
You just kidnapped a person. Three, like what? Stop it. I literally never saw the movie because I was like, ew, why do people love this? And I think it just goes back to like wanting to have control over how much of everything is being told. And that's why people always thought like they're scared of the idea of someone like Jordan Peele. Because he's going to tell the real story for one, but then also people are going to like it and then that's going to shift the culture and all the people up in Hollywood are scared of the reality that can happen and is happening and will happen and it's positive and people are on board.
Yeah, and I think it challenges people to ask more questions, right? Like why has it taken so long for a Jordan Peele to like exist in the world and for films like that to come out? And I think too, like going back to like The Blind Side or going back to this like white savior thing, I think it also is really it's really offensive to have this like constant like white savior thing like perpetuating in media, and then obviously it plays out in life of just like we can't, you know, like Black folks, they need help, you know, like they have no idea what they're doing in the world. It's the same thing as like when, you know, like places have gotten colonized, right?
yeah. It's like
because they think that
subconsciously.
like we just we have no idea.
Yeah.
We didn't have anything before,
Yeah.
the white
guys are
man
backwards.
came and like now
It's
they're
trying to
helping us.
subconsciously justify slavery.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And it's
Like, of the guilt. It's just like,
Yeah.
slavery was okay because you can't take care of yourself. And it's like,
Right.
no. Absolutely not. No matter how far away that was, it's
Yeah.
not.
yeah.
It's still real.
And it's just based in like pure ignorance, and it perpetuates and permeates. It's gross.
Yeah, because it gives them like an get off card essentially, because it's just like, oh, like we're not that bad because we have the one hero, and I know racism's bad, but this isn't racist,
Right,
like kind of
right.
thing. And just like it just masks racism, like it's just taking another form that's more acceptable in the populace. Yeah, but I think it's interesting that like Jordan Peele kind of used that in Get Out. He used
Right.
our assumption that there's going to be a good white person.
Right.
Yeah. I thought it was good that there wasn't. And I think
Yeah.
everyone else agrees except for some white people.
Well, because I think it was like, that was such a, so again, spoilers, you really just need to skip this episode if you haven't watched it. But, and also, what are you doing listening to our podcast if you've not watched it? But the whole twist where it turns out she was a part of it, right? Like the girlfriend,
Yeah.
when that happened, like, of course, like you knew, but there's a part of you that was wrestling. Like, of course there's like, she stuck up for him before.
Yeah.
She seems to care about him.
I saw the pictures. I was like, no, she's bad.
But even still, it was just like, maybe just like, oh, what's happening? And then like I can't let you do that. And
It was
she got
a
the
good
keys.
moment,
It was
yeah.
so good because it was really like everyone was holding on to like, of course, like in film, there is the white savior. So that's what she is.
Right.
And then when it wasn't that way, it was just like completely derailing for an audience.
Yeah. I mean, I was just on the fence I don't even know if I was on the fence. I just never believed that she was like good. Which is like also for me is like, also being like POC is like, like that makes you challenge yourself also too, because it's like, I think that's another thing that, just because of trauma, right? And because of our experiences of being like a POC person, you just naturally just have this guard up and just think that like white folks are never really on your side. And even if you like think that they are, they might, there's some microaggression or something comes out and it's like, wait, no.
The moment will one day come.
Yeah. And it's like emotionally like draining, right? It's like you're like ready for the rug to be like pulled out underneath of you like at any moment. Yeah. So I didn't ever think that she was good. I was just like, all right, I get it. But I was still shocked. Though. But
They did a good job like making it like the anticipation there.
Yeah.
She's like fumbling in her purse, like pretending she's looking for the keys.
She was a
Yeah.
good actress in that moment too, which is the most I could ever say about Marnie from Girls. I was like, I already know she bad.
Yeah.
There's like rarely very much diversity in the interracial couples. So it's usually a black person and a white person, or that's mostly it. I mean, that's most of the tropes that you see essentially is that like that's the acceptable interracial relationship in film for some reason. And that, so you think Save the Last Dance, Guess Who, etc.
Yeah.
They're just commentary as part of the film. As you said, kind of makes it like a softer.
Yeah. I think like, I've always been trying to like figure that out as to why that's like the go-to, because I think interracial, right, is like, even if there was like a Latinx and an African American, person, like they're both people of color, but they have different experiences.
Yeah.
Like there's so many different, when you say Asian and Asian folks, it's so vast. There's so many different inside of that like why don't we ever like see that? Like they just
They're
clump
the largest population.
like what
Japanese
is
with Korean, Indian with Chinese, you know?
Yeah.
And even when it comes to like gender, like, okay, so we typically see like a white woman and a black man, but even I get even excited and like I'm like, okay, at least they're trying to mix it up a little bit when it's like a black woman and a white man, you know, like what is that about? Like why don't we see more couples like that as well on television and in media? I don't know. I think it stems again back to like, you know, biases and stereotypes that we have against black women.
And I think the existence of those couples are always like a part of the plot. They're like a driving factor. It's not just like, oh, we can just accept that there's an interracial couple and there's no talk about it.
Like, it
it's
has to
just
be a
cool.
thing.
It's just normal, right? It's like, oh, this is a problem. There's contention, like blah, blah, blah. Like that's the plot is their relationship, as opposed to just like featuring people of color. I thought it was interesting, and this will maybe be the only good thing I'll ever say about Midsummer, is just being frankly honest here, is that there's an interracial couple in it, and they're both people of color.
Yeah.
And I was like, but like different people of color.
They both, spoilers, die really
They
early
both die.
into the film.
They're the first people who die.
it.
They are the first people who die. And besides, like the old white people, again, spoilers. Just don't watch it. Don't watch that one. Watch Get Out. Do not watch Midsummer.
I met someone who liked it, and I was just like, I don't know what to.
Like, I don't know how to continue to be your
I don't know what
friends
to
anymore.
do with this.
I'm wondering now if it's just like a sick joke of like POC people dying first.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, is it just... Or is it just tradition? Is it like, you know how you have like a 3-story like set, like is that just like part of the structure and writing that
and
was
then
like
at this point
this
they
has to
die.
happen or else this does not qualify as a horror film, you know? Like is that like part of
It's
it?
diverged from dying first, so they just have to die at some
Yeah,
point.
they can't live.
All right.
Because then you give that whole like hope, and then you take it away.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think it's that they are just cannon fodder, right? So that they don't matter. So they don't matter. And so they could just be thrown out. And because we just need numbers, right? When we're in a slasher film, we need numbers. And they happen to be the bodies that can create those numbers. Or they do that role of like, if we take down the bad black man, then look how bad this white serial killer is.
So strong.
Yeah, but that's not always the case. We do have black characters who live till the end.
Yeah.
So it has happened. And it honestly,
Like The Thing.
Yes, like The Thing. Who is it in the shark one? Who is that? The one
Shark
with
movies?
Deep Blue Sea? Is that Is that Deep
I
Blue
don't know.
Sea? Oh man, someone is yelling at me.
I stay away from the
podcast.
ocean movies unless I watched it with you and I don't remember.
I want to say it's LL Cool J.
Oh, LL Cool J doesn't die.
He tends to live, right?
He does.
That's like a rule.
Yeah. But he's LL Cool J.
Yeah, like how are you
LL
gonna kill
Cool J
him?
can't
Yeah, he has like really crazy muscles and stuff. It wouldn't make sense. How would he die?
How would he? Well, because I'm pretty sure. Oh, Deep Blue Sea. Yeah, he definitely.
Look
He's the
at
chef.
you.
He lives at the end. LL Cool J.
Films. Yeah, films. Yeah, films. We watch some films. Now let's talk about those films. And all that spooky stuff. And all that spooky stuff.
Yeah. So we watched Ma from this year, 2019. Our year, 2019.
It was like sad that it was from 2019.
Yeah.
Like I would have been like, I would have expected this 10 years ago, maybe.
Right. On Lifetime.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, like not on like big picture.
Right.
You go pay money a ticket. We didn't,
Yeah.
but you know, other people
Yeah.
bought a $12 to $13 movie ticket and
Right.
went to a place
I
to see
understand
it.
now why it was
And
only
popcorn.
why it was only in theaters for like 2 weeks. I get it now. Because at first I was kind of bitter. I was like, how the what? But
Yeah.
it was like it was in and out, and I remember it just like happened and then it was gone.
Well, because you learn later why. I guess because like
It was bad.
you gave me this really great Twitter post.
Well, first let's tell
Or
them
you
what
say
it's
words.
about.
You tell them what's about.
No, you tell them.
I tell them what's about.
Yeah.
Or Ariel tells them what's about.
You guys can tell them, and then I can just add in.
Just read the synopsis.
Okay.
Do your radio voice.
No, I can't. All right. Thank you. You know I'm getting old, so you're blowing it up. I'm only
helping you.
32. All right. A lonely woman befriends a group of teenagers and decides to let them party at her house. Just when the kids think their luck couldn't get any better, things start happening that make them question the intention of their hosts. Do I need to read who it's directed by?
Yeah, it's Tate Taylor, screenwriter Scott Landis, and Tate Taylor is the writer and director of The Help, which is an important part of this entire film.
Yeah, well, because as I read the article, it's from Mammy to Ma.
Yeah.
So you have the Mammy character from The Help, and then you have Ma, who is trying to also do that.
Yeah, and so it stars Octavia Spencer, who is also in The Help, and she's literally playing a very similar role, but they try to turn it and make her the villain, because in The Help, she's like, she's this. She's the help, and in this, she's the help again.
Yeah, and I don't understand it. You said that you think that she wanted to be in this role, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, that's another thing that always happening to like Black women in films is they get like typecast. I mean, it happens to everyone, but it's like, if you watch an Angela Bassett movie, she's going to be like one of three things. You know what I mean? Like Angela Bassett, I guess, is like maybe not the best example. Like, what's the girl that's like married to the basketball player? Gabrielle Union.
Yeah.
She's always the same.
Yeah, she's always the same,
right?
Oh, yeah, she does play
Gabrielle Union and
Kerry Washington.
Yeah, Kerry Washington. They're always the same. Kerry Washington or Gabrielle Union is usually like this like super like stuck up black chick who like maybe owns a business or is like running her own thing, and then like there might be some kind of like love interest in there, but like why would Octavia, like why would she want to continue to perpetuate that?
Yeah,
like I thought.
So it was originally, the role was of Sue Ann, which is not a name I would have ever thought Octavia Spencer would dub. Was originally written for a white actress, and he modified the script, Tate Taylor, to suit an African American woman after he showed it to Octavia Spencer, and she showed interest. So, and I don't know what they were trying to do. And whatever it was, they did a bad job. No. Of whatever.
There wasn't a lot of like cultural like references, I feel like, that would make me feel like she was actually a Black woman. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I could tell
it was like it
wasn't right.
It was like a white guy trying to make it like there was like subtle things that just seemed like they were cringy. So like even just like spoilers, don't watch this movie, it's fine, we watched it for you. Is when like she says like there's only room for one of us and then paints the Black boy. Like no, who was saying that? No. Who was doing that?
If anything, she would have let him go. She would have left all them little white kids. She would have did something to them, but she would have let the little Black boy go. Yeah. You know?
There's a lot of threads that were missed and not really talked about, like her clear Munchausen by proxy. There's just a lot that honestly, it was a bad movie. And even if you didn't put race into it and it had just featured the white lady, right? It still would have been a bad movie. Like, it's not totally good.
Very predictable.
It just was like, made worse.
I feel like I've seen it before in some other...
Because it's 7 other movies.
Yeah, it's just like, it wasn't very original. It was cringy just the whole way through. The characters weren't especially like believable or likable. They didn't get like much development. Like you were just suddenly in these situations.
But why did they have they had some pretty decent actors in that? That's what I don't understand. Like,
why were they all
what
on
are you
board?
doing?
Yeah,
Why?
like did they just were like, was this just something fun, like a fun summer camp like kind of movie that they like helped out on? Or I don't get it.
It's weird.
Yeah,
I think so. One of the telling things about this film is that there's a tweet by MIQL. That's Twitter user. And it says, just a heads up on the hashtag Ma movie cast and crew, quick IMDbing and Googling, right? And so it has like these emojis alongside what the roles are. So as lead, and it has a Black woman. Supporting cast, it has a bunch of white people, 1 Black boy. Then writers, 2 white guys. Director, white guy. Cinematographer, white lady. Editor, I'm guessing is an Asian woman. Producers, 3 white men. Hair and makeup, there's 2 Black ladies in there. And then just a bunch of white people. Music is white people, and it takes place in Mississippi.
They also forgot the daughter, but that's...
They did, yeah.
I also didn't really like Octavia's hair in that movie. I'm just throwing that out there. Like, it was just very wiggy. And I just hate seeing Black women just wear very wiggy especially if there was some black, hairdresser. This is why. Why'd you do that?
And also it was a point of the film too, like that he complimented her hair and that she was always fixing her hair. Like it definitely was trying to say something, but it was not saying any. It was saying bad stuff. It was saying everything bad. Yeah.
It was just it wasn't good.
Yeah.
It was not a good time, and it was disappointing that it was recent. Like you would think that we've learned a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like maybe it's like. Maybe they should have tried to say different things after they reworked the original plan of the film.
It's just like, what was the message? Number one, like what was it that they were trying to tell us? Like, if you befriend a black older woman, you might die.
Yeah.
Or like, not all black older women are bad. So make a friend today. You know?
I know. They'll let you party in their basement.
I know. What were they trying to tell us?
Yeah, and it was just a very strange, like nothing interesting happened, nothing surprising happened, nothing meaningful happened. It was weirdly paced. It was just a bad made film entirely. Yeah. Like there just was nothing, and then it was just like further crippled.
Great shots either.
Yeah, it was just further crippled by having a black woman, because then it does feel like you're making commentary on specifically black women.
Right. And then it also is like, it speaks to like, I don't know what the longest, like box office winner is of having a leading black woman in a role. But like, that also says something too, where it's like, we can't even, we can't carry a film. We can't carry an award-winning film that everybody, wants to come out and see. Like that's the reason why I'm just rambling now, but I just am really baffled as to why Octavia even said that she would be in it. Did she not read it? Like,
she was surprised.
It just seems so like cheesy. It's like beneath her, really. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, like when I saw the trailers, to me it seemed like it was trying to do what people kind of saw, like what Jordan Peele's Get Out when we had the white savior complex and we turned it, right? Was taking this idea of like the mammy complex and twisting it, right? Is this idea of like, we're just going to perceive that she would be nice.
Yeah.
And that of course she's going to take care of these white kids. Yeah. What else is she supposed to do? And then making her the villain was supposed to be like this like twist, but like everything was super obvious. Nothing was really like profound.
Because she's staring off into the distance all creepy, like at the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
You get right into like questioning her capabilities mentally of like sanity early on.
And too, like, I mean, just going back to like those flashbacks, like she was like, again, it seemed like she was the only black person in the school, and it's like a group of people that are like making fun of her or like bullying her in some type of way. Like that's just outwardly racist. Like, okay, I guess maybe they were basing it off of her being a nerd, but it could have totally, for me, when I'm looking at it, it's just like, okay, so y'all, is this school only for white folks? And that's why you're like, messing with her this way? Like, is it because she obviously is like attracted to this like white boy? Like, again, it's just segregation. It's just, that's all I'm just like, I don't know what's going on here. This is weird.
What was really like enraging is that those teenagers are the real villains. Like they actually did do a crime. Right. Like they did hurt her and it was messed up. But we never feel like that because they are made the victims because this lady is made crazy. Always. Like she doesn't even get to get to be mad. Like she doesn't even get justification for her actions. It just seems like, they just put on like, oh, she's crazy. And it's like, no, these kids should have gotten in trouble. Right. These kids deserve, like, not the kids in the film, but the parents of the kids in the film deserve some kind of like, like penalty or something. Like they should have gotten in trouble. Right. And she has every right to harbor anger against them.
Well,
and
it's just like disrespectful that they didn't develop her character more.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's because, she is a black woman or if it's because of the fact that it's just not written very well.
Yeah.
And I kind of honestly question if it's what we had with Contracted, where you're just doing stuff to do it and you're not thinking about what it all means given what society is right now. And just like all the things that we're going to question because we're looking at this analytically.
Right.
maybe
Yeah.
they were not trying to say anything very specific and then said a whole bunch of stuff that wasn't cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is like, again, it's like, I just don't understand. If you're going to write a film, if you're going to put people in roles, it's like you really need to be intentional about it, you know? So it's like, obviously, just going back to like the whole like media literacy thing. But then I think that this film ended up just circling right back to that white savior thing, because at the end, it's like she's the mom is like apologizing, like, yeah, finally, like I was so horrible to you. As soon as you saw her and she came and she brought your dog back and you remember that, you know, you went to high school together, that would have been a good time to be like, you know what, that was really wrong what we did to you. Maybe it would have stopped right there. Maybe maybe the whole story, maybe then you wouldn't have the movie, I guess. But
which is fine, honestly.
Yeah, but in the end, it's like, again, the teenager like runs up and she's like, you know, I'm not like my mom, and you're saving her own daughter from. Yeah, it's confusing.
A gross mess.
It's so messy.
Yeah, and then her the blatant pedophilia was absolutely disgusting.
Yeah.
There was no reason for that at all. It made no sense. It was so gross. Like there's too much. Like you pick a thing that's wrong with this woman. Pick one thing and then use that. Right? Yeah. Is she a pedophile? Yeah. Is she mentally ill? Yeah. Does she have Munchausen by prostrate? Yeah. And why has she been existing this entire life? Yeah. It presumably okay because she's lasted this long, and then she gets one trigger, and now all of a sudden she's all of these things. Like no, pick a thing.
She's been living in this town for a while, where all these people have consistently lived outside of one person.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
One person has moved back to town.
Who's done nothing.
Suddenly we are enacting revenge. Yeah. And also, the one person who moved back was like the friend sitting at the lunch table who at no point in the flashback seemed to have done really anything other than stand there and not stop it.
Yeah.
Which is doing something, but is comparably one of the lesser aggressive things.
It's also weird that if they were friends to the degree that I'm supposed to be convinced of in high school, then why did she not recognize her sooner? It was really, really weird that she saw her in the veterinary clinic. True, and then it took literally them staring at each other in her house to be like, wait a second. Yeah. If that was supposed to be your best friend, and if that was a traumatizing experience, you're going to remember that person.
Yeah, but that for me, again, as a Black woman, that always goes back to if the minute you change your hair up, you might gain a few pounds. Suddenly you got glasses. You're just a whole different person. You know. So.
But there's only one white family in this whole town.
Yeah.
Where was her husband? Also, what is any of this? It was everything was weird.
The plot was real loose. I feel like
what plot?
They just weren't thinking about the context of what the world is right now, and that's not acceptable in the world that we live in right now.
You're gross, Taylor. You get a thumbs down. 2 of them. Yeah. All for 6 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get a black fist down.
Yeah.
Feelings. Yeah, feelings. Yeah, I said feelings. Let's talk about feelings. Okay. And all that spooky stuff. I love spooky stuff.
All right, so if you like it, it's not the mama. It's so funny to me every time. And if you don't like it, it's not today, because she said a lot was attitude every time. I'm not. And then she did it. Then she did the thing. She was like, I'm not that. And then she was that. Yeah. So it's I'm getting whiplash here.
I will say that I do say not today a lot, but it just annoyed me that she was saying it too.
Take those words out your mouth. All right. So for the topic of how Black women have been represented in horror film, because I feel like I don't know if we found a single, we didn't really talk about ones where there's good, because there's also, I have never seen the one that's mentioned in Horror Noir, but the one with Jada Pinkett.
Which one is it?
Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Demon Knight, I think it is. That's the one with the guy from The Mummy. Yeah. And Demon Knight, she's the last girl, or the final girl. So she's the one who survives at the end, Jada Pinkett. But we didn't watch that, so I can't say if they did a good job or not.
Did you ever see the one that Angela Bassett's in? She's like a vampire. So good. She's just
Vampire
obviously
Brooklyn?
playing into it. Yeah. I don't know if that's, I
guess there's also Aaliyah. She's Queen of the Damned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there has been times
Yeah.
where we've seen powerful women, but they still fall into a specific trope because Aaliyah is hella sexualized.
Yeah, I was about to say that, like the Angela Bassett thing, she's so sexy and like regal and like controlling and powerful and stuff. It's nice.
Yeah. But it's also like, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Like,
but it's also like, it doesn't seem like she's being manipulated or like, it's not like a part of her. Like, I think that's the thing too, is that like, it gets kind of like confusing when you see this person, like this actor in this particular way, and you see this actor playing a role, right, of trying to like separate yourself.
Yeah.
And like maybe I just thought that Angela Bassett in that film was like regal and sexy because on the outside, like she's just regal and sexy in my head. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But she can be all those things, right? So if there were like more roles of like Black women in horror who like personified all these different parts of like a Black woman, then maybe, you know, there would be more of a connection. I think that's the thing that's like also lacking, is like we don't see real Black women. We see like Black women written by like white men or Black men, you know.
Yeah. We also didn't talk about Us, Jordan Peele's other film, which is it's a Black family, right? So we get to see Lupita, and
but I didn't see that yet.
Us is very good.
Yeah, it is.
That's what everyone's saying.
It's good.
Like, don't question it too much because it's not trying to say as much as Get Out did, but it's just a good time.
Yeah, and Lupita does a really great job. And what I think is great about Us is that the film isn't about racism, right? The film is more about like classism, honestly. But it's just that it just happens to feature a Black family, right? And that's not the thing. Like, they're proud and they are very like, she's not wearing Octavia Spencer hair in that film.
Yeah, they're just being very true to
natural.
themselves, but it's just a film about it, you know?
The dad is wearing a Duke sweater. Like, there's just like, they are very proud, but it's also like not the commentary that's being made. So with that, it's like kind of relieving to just be like, oh, we get to just enjoy and see like a Black family, and it's nice.
Yeah, I know. I make this point all the time too about like, obviously Bill Cosby, we know, right? But like, I ask my students all the time, like, when was the first time that you felt represented in the media? And like, that's my like straight go-to is like the Cosbys and, oh my God, Rudy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first time where I was like, oh my God, like that's my person. Like, I know we're the same. And I think like, even though I haven't seen the film, Us, I think that is something that I'm always consistently like asking for. And I think it's why I get frustrated a lot of times when I'm watching specifically movies that are featuring like a full Black cast or a predominantly Black cast, where it's like, why can't we just be how we are?
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to do all these extra things? Like, why can't we just like go into the family and just like, we're just already in it and we kind of are feeling a part in some type of way, where it doesn't have to be like a huge build up or we have to give all this like ton of information. It's just like, they do that in white films all the time. They don't give us their whole like spiel.
They
or
just
we don't,
are here.
Yeah. This is just a thing. Like, cause Black people just exist and they just have families and you're just going to see where the story goes.
Yeah.
And I
they
think
just live
that's
life.
the difference that we see in Ma, where they did it wrong because it's not a realistic portrayal. It's written by a white man telling this story and just putting a Black woman in that role, instead of like, we're with Us, it was like true portrayals of like just being human.
Yeah.
You know, we're here.
Yeah, it was beautiful. All right, so how about for Ma? What is our rating for Ma?
Whatever the
Not
bad
today.
thing was, so not today.
Not today. Not any day.
Yeah.
No one do it.
Don't watch it.
We watched it for you. Yeah,
No,
it's
Ma.
trash. No, that is the mama, and I don't like her. Yeah, it's trash. Just to say the least. I'm
sorry.
so mad about it. No, I'm just like, I'm sad.
Yeah.
Because I know that I shouldn't have been hoping and that I really should have just known better. And like, yeah, whenever you bring it up, people are like, oh yeah, you're gonna watch that? You're gonna see that? Even reading that like article, like talking to Ashley Blackwell, she was just like, not that film. And I was just like, just gonna go in and give it the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, no, it was
Never
bad.
again.
I feel bad for Octavia. I feel really bad for her. And I'm still just puzzled as to why she thought that was going to be a good move for her. And yeah, we don't need any more films of you doing
that.
being subservient to white people
Yeah. And
or black men. Yeah, whatever.
yeah, whatever it is.
No,
we don't
none
need
of that.
it. Yeah. We're like, who's her publicist or her agent?
Yeah.
Let's call them.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Not today.
Ariel, thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
joining us and telling us like how it is, letting us get an idea from your perspective. It's super helpful.
Thanks.
You're
And
great.
I
We
hope
love
our
you.
listeners feel
Never leave our house
educated on
ever.
it. Yeah, if anyone has any questions about this topic or wants to pick our brains or Ariel's brains, just go ahead and send us an email at theghouls@gmail.com, and we will be sure to get it to Ariel so she can answer for you. 'Cause she's got a lot of really good nuggets.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
You do. It is awesome. This is
You're
really
great
good.
and smart and know that.
Yeah, so don't get
Don't get
married.
married. They'll eat your kids.
Yeah. Or they go over to a lady's house that they shouldn't. Like, that's just right there. The kids
Just
should
don't
be
go
in
to
trouble.
strangers' basements. I just feel like that's fair. Except we invited you into that every time.
Except we directly
We're not
invite-
old people who are giving you beer.